What is going on, everybody? I'm sorry, that was a very inappropriate burp before the episode. Manners. Um, we're back with another video, back with another movie review, and of course, Eddie Murphy is the chosen one. You read that right. The 1986 film, The Golden Child. Last night was my first time seeing the film, and hopefully I can see another movie tonight. I don't work tomorrow till 3, so I can stay up pretty late tonight and do whatever. But yeah, we're gonna go through the plot. We're gonna go through the reception of this movie and what I think of it myself, and kind of bounce off of critics' ideas. I know you guys might think I'm like plagiarizing, but really I think it's just a discussion. It's just an open discussion about the film. In a remote temple in Tibet, a young boy with mystical powers, the Golden Child, receives badges of station and demonstrates his powers to the monks of the temple by reviving a dead Eastern Rosalia, which becomes a constant companion and familiar. So we find out there's this like gifted Golden Child kid that and spoilers, by the way, if you want to watch the movie, go ahead and watch it. There's not really much to spoil. I think it kind of goes as expected, but it's just such a funny movie. It is a comedy, by the way. I mean, Eddie Murphy's in it, so obviously you would think it's a comedy, but believe it or not, given the plot, you wouldn't think it's comedy. You wouldn't think it's funny, but Eddie Murphy's funny. He's got one-liners. He acts kind of goofy sometimes, and it's great. His impressions. Eddie Murphy really shows his voice acting in this, and it is awesome. It's a great showcase for him as an actor. A mysterious man, Sardo Numspa, has his men break into the temple, slaughter the monks, and abduct the boys. So this is kind of the antagonist in the series. He's holding this boy away captive. A young woman, Ki Nang, watches a Los Angeles TV show in which social worker Chandler Jarrell. So Ki Nang is played by the beautiful Charlotte Lewis. My God, that girl is gorgeous. The social worker Chandler Jarrell, played by Eddie Murphy, talks about his latest case, a missing girl named Cheryl Mosley. He seeks him out and informs him of the kidnapping of the Golden Child and that he is the chosen one who would save the child, which sounds kind of ridiculous to Eddie Murphy at first. Given his personality, given how he is and acting in movies, you know kind of how he's going to react to the news that there's like this he's the chosen one, and there's this Golden Child. They gotta go all the way out to Tibet to get, and it really displays Tibetan culture, maybe not in the greatest light, maybe not in like the light that the locals would want to see it, but yeah, it shines light on them, and I think it's cool. Chandler does not take this seriously, even after a bird begins following him, and him seeing an astral projection of the child. So the parrot, or the bird that's following him around, is a pretty big symbol throughout the movie. It shows its face throughout, and there's honestly some fight scenes here, and it's part action. I think the fight scenes are really well done, and they look a little cliche, but for a movie dropped in the late 80s, I think it's pretty damn good. The next day, Cheryl Mosley is found dead near an abandoned house, smeared with Tibetan graffiti, and a pot full of blood-soaked oatmeal. So kind of a disturbing scene, when Chandler shows up to the situation and sees that her leg is like tattooed with this symbol, and it represents kind of these guys. Key reveals to Chandler that this house is a holding place for the child, and introduces him to Dr. Hong, a mystic expert, and Kala, a creature half dragon, half woman, who remains hidden behind a screen. So there's definitely some very interesting characters littered throughout this movie, and it's great. It's very unique. This movie has a very distinct style to it, I would say. Chandler and Key track down a motorcycle gang, the Yellow Dragons, which Cheryl had joined, and Chinese restaurant owner Tommy Tong, a henchman of Numspa. So there's a lot of connections here. They're slowly piecing the puzzles together and slowly honing in on Numspa, to whom Cheryl had been sold for her blood, a way to make the child vulnerable to earthly harm. So they realize what Numspa and his henchmen have been doing to other kids, and they're like, yeah, we gotta get to this kid before they do something tragic. However, Tong is killed by Numspa as a potential traitor. Numspa then communes with his master, an unseen powerful demon who informs him of how to kill the child. So honestly, there are some scenes in this movie that get quite confusing, if I say so myself. There are definitely some confusing scenes. Still not taking the case too seriously, Chandler is drawn by Numspa into a controlled dream where he receives a burn mark on his arm. So some of the stuff that Eddie Murphy experiences in this film are dream, some of it are not. And he's starting to kind of fall in love don't really blame him. He's starting to fall in love with this Key girl, and yeah, he's like, is this a dream? Do you love me, or is it not? I think it's a beautiful like love story and they're like bonding over chasing the golden child. I think it's a really well done movie. Like, if you haven't watched it, stop watching this because I'm giving you the plot. Please go watch it for yourself. Numspa presents his demands: the Ajanti dagger, a mystic weapon capable of killing his child, which they're pretty much playing keep away with, in exchange for the boy. Chandler finally agrees to help, and he and Key spend the night together. Ooh, romance. Charlotte Lewis, this might have honestly been one of her first big shots in film. I'm not sure. Chandler and Key travel to Tibet, officially, where Chandler is swindled by an old amulet seller, later revealed as the high priest of the temple where the dagger is kept hidden, and suddenly Key's father, so Key Nang's father, is posing as kind of like a homeless man on the side of the street. That's like, it's kind of crazy. Like, he's selling amulets on the side of the street. It's a really funny scene between Chandler and this old guy. I think it's fucking hilarious. Oh my, I don't know why. I mean, the scene, he took his $100 bill. Oh my god. I gotta look up some of those scenes and rewatch them back on YouTube. They were just so goddamn funny. Oh man, you guys gotta see this movie. Even for the 80s, the humor is like still kind of relevant for today. He's like, $100? You want your money? He's like talking in Tibetan, and all of a sudden he just turns to English, and I think that scene is just so damn funny. It's one of the funnier scenes in the movie. In order to obtain the knife, Chandler has to pass a test, an obstacle course in a bottomless cavern whilst carrying a glass of water without spilling a drop. So it's very interesting here, right? With luck and wits, Chandler recovers the blade and even manages to bring it past customs in the United States, kind of like using his voice impression to like make it seem like he's from a different country. He's like, my brother here, he's such a good person, and there's this piece of shit over here. The guy that's like right by him in line. I think it's funny. Again, I don't really want to like describe them too much. It's kind of supposed to just be a review / recap. Go watch the movie for yourself if you haven't already. That night, Numspa and his henchmen attack Chandler and Key. The Ajanti dagger is lost to the villains, and Key takes a crossbar bolt meant for Chandler, dying in his arms while confessing her love for him. So it's very, very heartbreaking. Oh man. Dr. Hong and Kala offer him hope. As long as the sun shines upon Key, the child might be able to save her with his little touch. With the help of the child's familiar, Chandler locates Numspa's hideout, retrieves the dagger with the help of Till, one of Numspa's men converted to good by the child, and frees the boy, so the boy is officially rescued. When Chandler confronts Numspa, he reveals himself as a winged demon. So he's like able to kind of morph his body into all sorts of things, and the CGI and stuff is kind of fucking terrible looking in this movie, but it's almost like so terrible that it's good. Yeah. Chandler and the child escape, only to be entrapped inside a warehouse. Chandler loses the dagger when the warehouse collapses, with Numspa buried under falling masonry. So, yeah. Chandler and the child head to Dr. Hong's shop where Key is being kept and her body is being like preserved so he can save her. As the two approach Key's body, a badly injured but berserk Numspa attacks Chandler, but the amulet the old man sold Chandler protects him, then blasts the dagger from Numspa's hands. The child uses his magic to place the dagger back into Chandler's hands, and Chandler stabs Numspa through the heart, destroying him. So they officially get rid of the antagonist, Numspa. The child then uses the last rays of sunlight in his power to bring Key back from the dead. The three later take a walk discussing the child's return to Tibet. So, just a classic Eddie Murphy film. Not an Eddie Murphy film that too many people really talk about, but it is a good movie, to say the least. And shout out to Cody Leach. He's been giving me like all of these. I love how the cover of the film looks too. It's just such a cool vibe. Like, it's wintry. And I don't know how to explain it to you guys. It's just a cool vibe. I'm not going to talk about the box office because that doesn't really matter to me. People don't really like this film that much. 22% on Rotten Tomatoes, 4.2 out of 10, 3.7 out of 10 on Metacritic. Generally unfavorable reviews. CinemaScore gave it a B. 3 out of 4 stars for the Chicago Sun-Times. The Golden Child may not be the Eddie Murphy movie we were waiting for, but it will do. It is funny, more stirring, and more tailored to Murphy than Beverly Hills Cop, which everyone knows this guy for, and it shows a side of his comic persona that I don't think has been much appreciated. His essential underlying sweetness. Murphy's comedy is not based on hurt and aggression, but on affection and an understanding that comes from seeing right through the other characters, and I really like how they do this. Yeah, it's really interesting. He's like, there's a bed right there. Like, he's talking to, like, Keenan or whatever. And he, like, lays into it. It's just funny. He just has this subtle humor that's great. It was a box office hit. There's not a lot of people that actually like it, though. Like, you're not going to go up to any ordinary person and say, hey, have you seen The Golden Child? Do you like it? They're not going to be like, oh, hell yeah, that movie's fantastic. It's very underappreciated, though. Dr. Dolittle, he did those movies. He did Coming to America. But The Golden Child, I think, might not be his best movie ever. But, like, in terms of comedy, I would say it's his best. A comedy without laughs, that was said by the New York Times. I would disagree. I think it was funny. Me and my dad were laughing throughout. Maybe we have terrible humor. Who fucking knows anymore. Dennis Feldman, disappointed with the film, thought they should have taken the script more seriously, but instead, everybody wanted to make an Eddie Murphy comedy and criticized the directing. It's not what the director should have done, and he didn't even do it that well either. It's a comedy film. Again, it's really annoying when critics come out here and they try to criticize a comedy film. It's supposed to be lighthearted. It's supposed to be satirical. It's supposed to be sarcastic. It's supposed to be low budget, low effort. That's how most comedy films are. There's not a comedy film that's going to put together a budget that say a Marvel Studios movie is going to be. We don't need big set pieces. We don't need crazy dialogues, nothing like this. We're not making a Dark Knight movie. Again, this movie was released in the 80s. You can't really, I don't know. Even for its time, I guess people hated it. Who knows? Charles Dance, Sardo Numsa, the actor for Sardo Numsa, had this to say: I thought I'd quite like to do a film with Eddie Murphy because he makes me laugh. The character was villainous, but he was a comic villain as far as I was concerned, and I hadn't done a film like that before. I don't think as an actor you should back off from any experience, so I thought, okay, we'll try this. And I did it, and I know that it's played over and over again, and a lot of devotees of that kind of thing says it's their favorite film. It was fun. I enjoyed doing it. So people that were actually on the set of the fucking movie liked doing it, and they said it was a fun experience, and they said it came out well. So I don't know. Critics are kind of weird. I am one of the critics. I'm not going to hate. I don't know. I was definitely kind of zoned out on this film just a little bit, but I think it's really cool. I think it's very unique for the directors to kind of take us to this Tibetan land. I think that's very interesting. But yeah. It's not amazing. I'm not saying it's like a magnum opus for anyone that was involved in this movie. But it was certainly a fun film. It was certainly for an Eddie Murphy movie, for a comedy in the 80s. I think the humor did pretty damn well, and I'm excited to watch more Eddie Murphy movies. I don't know how many more I will watch, but I am excited to. But leave a like, comment, subscribe. As always, it has been Cheesy TV. Here in a little bit, I will be providing you guys 2 hours of me playing Far Cry 6. Giancarlo Esposito, baby. We're slowly starting to delve into that, and it's been a fun ride. I know my channel's kind of lame right now. Once music comes out soon, it will be better. And if you guys like movie reviews,